Okay, now we're going to talk about cording. This is what we're going to consider to be self-cording, so it's going to be the same color as the fabric that we're working on. There's several different kinds of cording. We have different widths. Alright, this is 5/32, and this is probably about a 3/4. And then we have different we have different weights, not weights on it, but one is called firm and one is called soft. So here this is a firm one, and then this would be the same, but this would be a soft one, and you can see the difference. One is stiffer than the other. Now, there's different applications for each one. I would use the softer one on something that's going to curve, on a window treatment where the fabric's going to go in and out, where you need the curve to be soft. This firm one, or medium or firm, this is going to be used on something that doesn't have a curve to it, that you don't want to be too flexible, so it's more like something that we would use on a piece of upholstery furniture. Or I would probably use this on our pillow. Right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to decide the size. All right, so if this is 5/32 of an inch, then we're going to take that and we are going to figure out how much fabric we're going to need to go around it. We use a 1/2 inch seam in everything we do in the drapery workroom here. So 5/32, and you divide 5 divided by 32, gives you 0.156, and then you add a 1/2 inch seam here and a 1/2 inch there, so you're going to add an inch to that. First of all, you're going to multiply it, okay, by pi, which is times 3.1416. Then you have the circumference going around, and then you're going to add 1 inch for your seam allowance. So it's 1.4. So about 1.5 inches wide is going to be the width of the strip of fabric that we're going to cut to go around this. And here's one that I just pulled off, and you can see it's folded now, but here this is about 1.5 inches wide, and then as it wraps around the cord, then of course it goes in half. And that leaves us with a 1/2 inch seam on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our fabric here, and we're going to cut cord on the diagonal. When you cut it on the diagonal, it will go around curves for you better. It makes it more flexible for you. It just gives you a nicer look. So we're going to take the fabric and find the diagonal by just folding it across. And we just cut on this line here. Okay. And we're going to take our fabric. Now, if you had a piece of fabric that you couldn't tell the back from the front, I would run a piece of masking tape up the back side. Okay, so now we're going to sew the pieces of fabric strips together, and what you need to do is you need to set your sewing machine so that the stitch is a tiny stitch. That way when somebody tugs on it, it won't come apart as easily. Alright. And just continue adding them as you go along. Take off the salvage. Look at them like you're putting them together, and then flip this over. And just continue to sew. When you're done, you can snip these, and you'll have a nice long piece. So I'm gonna finish sewing this, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna show you how to put it over the cord. Okay, so now I have this long strip of fabric, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the foot on my machine to a zipper foot. This way we can sew down one side and get close to that cord. Alright, so here's the cord, and we're just going to take it and we're going to roll it over it. We can go back to a larger stitch. And we'll just start sewing. And you just wrap it around it. And just continue on. We're going to go here till we get to a seam. Now there's two things. When you get to a seam, excuse me, you should put the seam to one side if it's lightweight fabric and you don't think that the seam is going to be real bulky. If it's heavier weight fabric, you want to open up your seam, which is what we're going to do here, and sew, and then you won't even see it. Okay, so we've now made our cording, and it has approximately a 1/2 inch seam allowance on it. So I'm going to continue on, and so that's how we make cording. Alright, so we've sewn the cord all the way around, and now we're getting back to the beginning. So we're going to make sure our cord is probably coming up at least 2 to 3 inches, and then we're going to cut it. Now be careful, because this cord unravels at the end, and it's not that easy to work with. This is definitely not a beginner. Alright. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut this tape back from the cord, and then the cord will be loose on us, and it'll probably start unraveling by itself. If you remember that the way they made the cord was by twisting it in the, kind of like in the opposite direction. I don't know if you've ever twisted your hair or whatnot. Alright, so what we want to do is we probably could clip this up to there, where those two pieces are going to meet, and we're going to end up with taking the lip off of the cord. Alright, so now that you have the lip away from the cord, you can either cut this lip away or you can cross it over itself. And I think I'll just cross it over itself here. Alright. Cut some away. Put one across that way. One across the other way. And I might even pin it here. Just so I have a smooth area to work with. Alright, now what you have is you have to untwist this and untwist this one, and you have to get it so they overlap. And still look like they're continuing on with the cord. Alright, this has to go the other way. It'll take you a little bit of time, but you will get it. You just have to keep fooling with it. Twist the one up, and then you have to almost have to have these undone. And then bring the other ones over it. And what happens is when you look at it, you see that cord is completely going straight. And so then, I mean, and you may have to use Scotch tape to hold it there for you. This one actually is working pretty well. So we'll just go ahead and sew this up. And sometimes I go back and forth a couple of times because this is kind of a bulky, this is going to become a bulky section. Okay, so there you have it. See, it looks like nice and smooth. It doesn't even look like it missed a stitch, okay? Over on this side, the look is great. But this will all be trimmed and be inside the seam. This is why we put it on the side seam instead of the bottom, so when we put the zipper in, we don't have to fight this bulk here. Okay, so the next step we have is to put a invisible zipper in, and I'm going to show you a way to put it in on just in the seam of 2 flat pieces, no cording. So we'll get you started with that.